A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you are doing good. Today is 15th October 2020. Day is a Thursday. And dear friends, let's start our day with something that is related with prayer. Prayer should be the key of the day and the lock of the night. When you start your day with a prayer, chances are that your day will turn out positive. And if you end your day with a prayer, it will improve the quality of your sleep. With this, dear friends, we have 5 important articles on our table. The first one is from Times of India. This one is about Maharashtra Governor versus Maharashtra Chief Minister. The second one is about Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister versus judiciary. The third one is about education. Fourth one is about labor, and fifth one is about COVID-19. So let's start our discussion with the first one, divine delusions. Now, Maharashtra Governor B.S. Koshyari wrote a letter to Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, and this letter has created controversy. So, writing a letter to Chief Minister, is it bad? Is it controversial? No, not at all. A governor can write a letter. If governor wants to highlight something to Chief Minister, if he wants to tell something to the government, then of course he has all the right to write a letter to the Chief Minister. The problem here is the aggressive tone and tenor. Koshyari sought to know whether Thackeray was receiving divine premonition to keep postponing the reopening, or had suddenly turned secular yourself, the term you hated. So, in this letter, Koshyari has expressed his dissatisfaction or his disappointment regarding this postponement of the reopening of places of worship, right? The masjid, the temple, gurudwara, etc., churches, etc. But he can convey his message in much polite way. You know, this is the problem these days, and I'm not talking about everyone, but I think we have lost, we have paid too much attention on the grammar that we have lost the main tone of delivering things, or saying words or writing words. Aggressive tone, and that too coming from a person who is holding a constitutional office. This is disappointing. This is not good at all. The other problem is, the deeper problem is, we find that this chief minister versus governor situation is very common. You know, governors are appointed by the president, and the main job of the governor is to, act as an eye and ear of central government in the state. But governor can also act as a bridge between central government and state government. He or she can create channels through which both can learn from each other, both can help each other, because we are a federal country, isn't it? Our whole system is federalism is here in our country, isn't it? We have states and we have central government. So we are one country. Different political parties can be in power. At central government we have BJP. In Maharashtra we have this Uddhav Thakuray's government. So they used to be under one umbrella, but they are not anymore. But that does not matter. People of our country, they are the most important thing for the government, for any party. That's how it should be. But unfortunately, in real world, we find this governors are appointed to create troubles, and many a times they are so strict, and this is not fair. And this is not just done by BJP government. When Congress was in power, they used to do the same thing. Many a times I wonder why we need governor at all. I know that the governor has a very important role to play, but still, you see, it's a pure political position. And then we find this sort of troubles going on. A few months ago, serious issues took place in Puducherry, Union Territory of Puducherry. And Puducherry and Delhi, we have these two UTs where you have chief ministers as well. So the Puducherry Chief Minister versus the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry was a big issue over there. Then we see this Arvind Kejriwal and Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. When Narendra Modi was Chief Minister of Gujarat, at that point of time, there was one lady governor. I cannot remember her name. I cannot recall her name at present, but I know her face, but I don't know her name. Anyway, that's not important. I've seen this thing as well. Like they used to have problems with each other, governor as well as chief minister, then chief minister of Gujarat, Narendra Modi. So our Constitution's Article 25 guarantees the freedom to practice religion, no doubt, but it is subject to public order and health. Let the governor stick to his constitutional functions and let not zealotry determine policy. You are holding a constitutional position, so it's better that you maintain the decora. And these days what we are finding is when it comes to religion, people are becoming very insensitive. This is not how it should be. Particularly in our country. Our country is a secular country, and secularism is not something that is here because of our constitution. Our constitution talks about secularism because the way of our life since time immemorial. We have always accepted ideas coming from various different parts of the world. And this has made our culture very rich, very diverse. We have all different religious practices going on in our country since time immemorial, means 2,000-year-old church. You have one of the oldest masjid you have in our country, right? Oldest temples, of course, you have. So this should reflect in politics as well. But unfortunately, these days, if we talk about religion, then we find that people are so insensitive. Means people they get irritated. They start arguing and fighting rather than having an open discussion, because because the place in which we, if you and I are arguing, and if it becomes an ego issue, like who wins, who is better in argument, then we are not going to benefit out of it. It's only going to create cracks in our relationship. But if discussion or argument is for the sake, if the main aim is for knowledge enhancement, then no one loses. Both parties win, and we learn something by exchanging things with each other. So all those sati system and some other bad things that used to take place in our society, we got rid of it, or our forefathers got rid of it, because they created this environment where we were able to discuss things, what is right, what is wrong, and then we were able to eliminate the things that were wrong. In today's world, there are so many things that are like in politics and religion. I think this is wrong. Using religion for politics, this is something that is wrong. This is a trend that is going on, and we need to get rid of it, right? And it's not the government that can get rid of it. We, the people, we need to get rid of it. Religion, very important. Politics, very important. But we cannot mix both, and we cannot use religion for winning politics or winning votes or things like that, Moving on to next item. Dear friends, StudyIQ team has designed a smart course. This smart course is for Civil Services Examination. It covers your prelims as well as mains examination until 16th October 2020. EMI offer is also available on all our smart courses. To download the PDF of today's lecture, check out my Telegram channel. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. The second one is from Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh government versus judiciary. Now, Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy, has written a letter to Chief Minister of India, S.A. Bobde, and in this letter he has said that Andhra Pradesh judiciary as well as one Supreme Court judge, they have very hostile attitude towards him, that is towards Reddy. He's talking about himself in this letter, and he also saying that not just him but his government as well. So this is a big situation. This has triggered, means the High Court is not happy with this sort of thing, and High Court has directed the CBI to take over the investigation into the registry's complaints against allegedly defamatory, inciting and derogatory social media posts against the judiciary as well as individual judges, and to examine whether these attacks were part of larger conspiracy. The CM has said that the High Court is being controlled by loyalists of his predecessor. He said that there are so many people in this Andhra High Court, they are loyalist to his rival N. Chandrababu Naidu, and they are doing things, or they are, they are delivering judgments, or they are doing things that go against the current chief minister and his party or his government. It is disturbing to see this sort of thing taking place, right? That a chief minister is writing letter to CJI. Of course, he has all the right, but its impact on the minds and hearts of people is going to stay for a very long period of time. The reason we know that there are so many things in our country that don't work, but we know that even though justice is delayed, we still appreciate that it is the judiciary that has delivered, right? It is one pillar that has always delivered, and people have huge amount of trust in judiciary. So I'm not saying this, if something is going wrong in judiciary, then we should not talk about it. Of course, we need to talk about it, but we need to sort it out. We should not allow controversies to take place. CBI is going to inquire, and the government has said that they don't have any, means people in government, they have said that they don't have any objection regarding the CBI inquiry. So CBI inquiry will take place. But CGI is also in a catch-22 situation. If he does not act, then he is not doing his duty. If he acts, then he is creating troubles and shock waves. So the right thing would probably be for the CGI to order an inquiry into the letter in accordance with the Apex Court's internal procedure. Now let's wait and watch what is going to be his next step. But we cannot afford this thing at all, that if something is wrong, then we need to report it. But we should make sure, and this is something the judiciary can do, right? They have to design things, they have to design systems so that people's trust, right, is not lost. People's faith in judiciary, we cannot afford to damage it. This is very important for our democracy. Then the next one is a weak link in the elementary education chain. So this article is, I'll give you a brief about this article, then we'll go through some points. See, education is something that we have talked about many times. A few weeks ago, when this National Education Policy 2020 was out, we have talked about education. So I'm sure you know what are the things that are necessary to improve the quality of education in our country. Now, in this article, we find few questions like what exactly is quality, how we can achieve it, and what are the things through which we can achieve it. Okay. So for nearly 30 years, NGOs are intensively engaged in the task of improving elementary education in our country. There are total 12 lakh NGO workers engaged in education, and roughly you can say 3 lakh are working at elementary level. Now, the most important thing that we need to understand is training teachers, and training is just not enough. We generally, what we say is training, right? Training, but with training should lead to development. Again, training, development, training, development. So it's a sort of circle. So if you are like, let's say, you've been trained to teach students, right? So that's your training is over. Now you will join practical class, you will train students and things, and then you reach here somewhere, you are here, right, at present. So this is your personal development. Then again, appraisal will take place where you are at present, your improvement, your weakness, your strength, everything. And then you will be trained. Yeah, a little bit of training will be given how you can come out of this thing. And then another level, then again little bit of training, another level. So this is like continuous improvement. This is something that we need in our country when it comes to teachers. And most NGOs and large foundations believe that these people work as catalysts and influence the functioning of the system. These people means those people who are training teachers, right? They direct teachers, they train teachers in classroom, they demonstrate things that are important for teachers, they show them new methods and things. So these people, they work as catalysts and they influence the functioning of the system. There is a lot of discussion around education and the continuous professional development of teachers, CPDT, which is one of the most important thing, of course. Now, there are a few questions that we need to ask. What is quality education? We talk about quality education, but then as well, if you observe, then we are obsessed with marks. Like, this school is good. If you ask why this school is good, then we say that, first of all, 99% pass out. So again, we are focused on quantity. Now the question is, what if your curriculum is irrelevant? I'm teaching you, means the curriculum is outdated, and in this outdated curriculum, if kids are performing very well, if they are achieving 100% marks or 99%, 90% plus marks, then we cannot call it high education because the curriculum is irrelevant to the life. Second thing, if we are creating a very strict environment, like if you don't achieve 90% plus mark, then severe punishment and too much of stress on student, then as well we cannot say that this is an ideal situation, right? Curriculum and pedagogy are associated with each other, and as I told you that, right curriculum with right delivery. Then we have 4 important documents, right? In 2005, National Curriculum Framework 2005 came out, NCF, RTE in 2009, NCFTE 2009, and latest NEP 2020. So this, if we go through all these documents, Right to Education Section 29E talks about learning through activities, discovery and exploration. What is discovery? How and when and what can children learn through discovery? Does discovery method have any limitations as pedagogy? What is a constructive method of learning? What do you mean by constructive method of learning? And when we find this thing in NCF recommends constructive pedagogy. NEP 2020 paragraph 4.23 says that certain subjects, skills and capacities should be learned by all students. There is a long list of things. I'm not going to read out loud these things, but of course you can download the PDF and go through it. So it's talking about gender sensitivity, it's talking about oral and written communication and collaboration and teamwork and so many things. But do we find any sort of consistency between NCF and NEP? What will happen if some schools, they produce children who are highly successful, innovative, adaptable, productivity, extremely competitive, but uncaring for others? Can we call them success? Of course not. So a very simple answer is, what we need is, we need holistic development of our kids, right? They should have soft, hard, both skills, right? They should be scientific, they should have scientific temper. At the same time, they should be spiritual as well, isn't it? That's something that we need. They should be good with maths, they should be good with arts, right? So we want to create, and this is possible. It's not like it is impossible. The only bad thing is to think negative, right? To think that we are weak and our kids are weak and our generation is weak. Not at all, right? We have, all of us are unique, all of us are filled up with all that potential that any other person has. It's only about creating this mindset, creating this environment that yes, we can do it. That's what we need from our education system and education policy. That yes, we can, our kids can, and that is the first starting step. And for that, we need good teachers, and for good teachers, we need NGOs to train them, to continuously train them, check their development, make sure that they are developing, Once that development is done, a little bit of more training, again development, little bit of training, and we need to keep on doing this thing, again and again. This is like continuous, permanent process, right? Constant improvement. Moving on to labor's data lost. In August 2019, Code on Wages was passed. A few months ago, last month in fact, we talked about this thing. Remember, Code on Social Security, Code on Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions, Code on Industrial Relations. All these codes were passed in the parliament, and together these 4 codes subsume more than 40 labor laws. Again, I would like to remind you guys that, for example, this Code on Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition, we talked about this thing, that this is something that should be universal. This is something that should be applicable to every factory, right? Whether you are a new one or an old one, you need to follow procedures, standard operating procedures, health and safety. Gas should be available. Health and safety is something that we cannot compromise with, but central government has given a free hand to the states, and they can, and some of them they have as well. They have extended working hours and so many other things. So the mission statement that we find is very idealistic, but you see the implementation, then we find that things, as far as the safety is concerned, it is compromised. The other question, other important highlight here is that Indian Labour Conference, the apex level consultative committee concerned with labour, last met in 2015, and it was not even consulted. ILC was not consulted while framing these codes. There are 50 crore informal workers in our country, and their contribution is too much. They contribute 50% to our GDP, so they are one of the most important group. And interstate migrant workers, they contribute 6% to our GDP. But then as well, we find that they are not getting payment on time. When Labour Minister was asked in the Parliament on 14th September about how many people died, how many migrant workers died during this lockdown, the Labour Minister said that he has no data at all. This is what do we expect this type of answers from a democratic government, that we don't have any data on it? The order by the Home Ministry on 29th March asking employers to pay employees. Do you think people will play? Is Home Ministry going to come and check how many of them have got paid from, means they have received payment from their employers during this lockdown? This is not, some of the orders are like not logical at all. You can help, right? Government can help people. Private players, they are not going to, if I have a shop and if Home Ministry is asking us to give money, of course, as a human being, I will do whatever is possible for me, right? But if I don't have money, then how I'm going to pay salary for those people who are working in my shop? And then if government is saying that if I'm violating Home Ministry's order, then what else can I do, or any other person can do? And then when it comes to central government has not paid MG Narega job card holders their money, their wages, and government is telling other people to follow its order. So we find this, enforcement is not equal across the board. The unacceptably high levels of informal employment has negative impacts, not just for the worker, but for also our nation. If you're working in an informal environment, your learning and training opportunities, you will not go through formal process of learning and training. So your personal upgradation is totally dependent on you, rather than the institution looking after you. And when you are not making that much money, when you are working in informal sector, you don't know anything about job security. Tomorrow you don't know whether you will be working or not. So this means you are in a poverty trap. Now your kids will not get good education. You cannot afford when we know the state of government schools. So this will create an environment where your kids will be forced to do the same thing that you are doing. some sort of manual labor work. Manual labor work is not bad, but if there is no upgradation, no learning, no growth, then that is bad thing. So this will create a sort of, it will keep on creating, it will keep on adding more and more speed to this vicious cycle, where next generation will do the same thing, next generation after that will do the same thing, Moving on, the race to the finish line. This article is written by Balram Bhargava, Secretary, Department of Health Research and Director General, India Council of Medical Research. So he said that many people they ask him, and I'm sure many of us ask us as well, like every one of them, like when we talk about this thing, like God knows when this pandemic will end. We are not sure about it because we are learning so many new things about COVID-19. Every few days something new comes out, but the good thing is collaboration is going on around the world, and that is a very positive sign, very positive strength that humanity is working with each other. Collaboration is going to be the cornerstone of the strategy that can potentially end this pandemic. There are 42 vaccines around the world. The clinical trials are going on, and 3 vaccine candidates are in our country, India: Oxford AstraZeneca, then you have this Covaxin and Zycov-D. They are at various different levels. So no matter which country comes out with this vaccine, India is going to play a very important role, because India is known as a pharmacy of the world, and we are one of the largest manufacturers of vaccines in the world in terms of volume. Approximately 70% of vaccines for low and middle income countries are manufactured in India and delivered through partnerships with UNICEF and Gavi. So yes, we are going to play a very important role, but there is something that we need to do, world needs to do, is to forge long-term partnerships and increase research and development investments for all those things that we may catch in future. Like we need to invest research and development. We need to invest in R&D of future zoonotic diseases, from where we can get it. We have artificial intelligence and so many other things, and we can deploy those things. So we can start this process. We can start planning ahead that, God forbid, but in case if we have something like COVID-19, then what are the options that we have in our hands, or what we can do in future. And that's everything in today's discussion, dear friends. These are a few news items. Please download the PDF and go through them, and I will see you soon. Till then, enjoy your studies. God bless you all. Jai Hind.